Good afternoon, students. We have the interior of the right ventricle. The entire interior of right ventricle we have cut across and we have opened it. It is divided into two parts, inflowing, outflowing. As you can see here, this portion here is the inflowing segment and here this portion is the outflowing. The inflowing segment is known as the right atrioventricular orifice with its tricuspid valve complex, and the outflowing segment here, this will be known as the infundibulum, or it is also known as conus arteriosus. So therefore, the inflowing tract is described by right atrioventricular valvular complex, and outflow tract is also known as the infundibulum or conus arteriosus. Now, we first start with the inflow tract. The inflow tract, or it is called the right atrioventricular complex, is again, this inflow tract is divided into two parts, two segments for better understanding. One, the entire tricuspid complex, the right atrioventricular valve complex or tricuspid complex. And second, it will be known as trabeculae carneae. So trabeculae carneae are the rough elevations. So first we take this right atrioventricular valvular complex. Here it is made up of, just note down, the peripheral collagenous rim. This is the peripheral collagenous rim, which is known as the tricuspid annulus. It will be known as tricuspid annulus. What is attached on this tricuspid annulus? There will be the attachment of the basal part of the leaflets. What are leaflets? They are cusps. So the tricuspid cusps or leaflets are attached to the tricuspid annulus through their basal side. Second, the entire tricuspid cusp. Now the entire tricuspid cusp, if we want to see the tricuspid cusp, it is better to approach from the right atrial opening here. See how wonderful it is there. Through the right atrial wall, we are able to see the tricuspid valve. This tricuspid valve will have three cusps, anterior, posterior, and septal. Always note down, the anterior will be the biggest and septal will be the smallest. Now there is this three cusps, they will have free margins which are located in the interior, and each cusp will have rough area, clear area, and basal area. This is the rough zone, middle is the clear zone, and at the base is the basal zone. And therefore, now, each cusp will have in between antero-posterior commissure or cleft, anteroseptal, and posteroseptal commissure or cleft. And these three cusps, they are attached through their free margins with chordae tendineae. Now, these three cusps will remain closed in case of ventricular systole. And these three cusps, anterior, septal, and posterior, they will form the channel between right atrium and right ventricle. Now on the posterior, as you can see, it will have various irregular surfaces. So these irregular, they are called septa, and these septa will divide the surface into scallops. So there will be two septa and three scallops. Then we come to, once again we close this right atrium, we go to the interior of the right ventricle. Now we come to chordae tendineae. What are chordae tendineae? As you can see here beautifully, these are thread-like structures. They are endothelial thread-like structures which are formed by collagenous fibers. So thread-like collagenous fibers. And what were the cusps which we have discussed, leaflets or cusps? They were endocardial proliferations. And these chordae tendineae are collagenous thread-like structures. Endothelial collagenous thread-like structures. Now these chordae tendineae, what will they do? They are attached on one side to the papillary muscles, which will come to that later on. Papillary muscles are attached on the ventricular wall, and on other side they are attached to the free margin of the cusps of tricuspid valve. So this chordate tendineae, all these thread-like structures, they are divided according to their attachment on cusp. First type of chordate tendineae will be they are attached on the free margin. So they are called the free chordate tendineae. Second variety of this chordate tendineae will be they will be attached on the rough margin of the cusps of tricuspid valve, which I have discussed with you, the rough margin. So they are called rough chordate tendineae. Some of them will be attached to the basal part, basal zone of the cusp. They are called basal chordate tendineae. And some of the chordate tendineae will be attached to the junction between the rough and the clear zone. So they are called the deep chordate tendineae. And some of the chordate tendineae will be attached to the commissures. And what were those commissures? Between the anterior cusp and septal cusp, anteroseptal commissure. For example, once again, if I show you here in the interior of right atrium, this commissure between the anterior cusp and septal, anteroseptal commissure. This commissure between the septal and posterior, posteroseptal commissure. And this commissure between the anterior and posterior, antero-posterior commissure. Some of the chordate tendineae are attached here in the commissures. They are called commissural chordate tendineae. Once again, back to the right ventricle interior. So therefore, we have finished the right atrioventricular orifice with its tricuspid complex, which included what? Number 1, tricuspid annulus. Number 2, the cusps of tricuspid valve. And number 3, chordate tendineae. Now we go to the second part of this inflowing tract. The second part of this inflowing tract is trabeculae carneae. As you can see, the interior of the right ventricle, here if I show you where the forceps is there are so many rough ridges. You can see here also. So many rough ridges, elevations. Therefore, these are known as trabeculae carneae. These trabeculae carneae are divided into 3 parts. This is very interesting. Those 3 parts are known as ridges, bridges, and papillary muscles. First, ridges. What are ridges? They are simple elevations. For example, see this elevation. They are simple elevations. These elevations which are present in the ventricular wall, the most important elevation is this, and that is known as supraventricular crest, which I am showing you. Now this supraventricular crest, basically, it will be from the posterior part of infundibulum. Now this is the cut portion of infundibulum, that is pulmonary trunk. So posterior wall of the infundibulum, from there will be proliferation of this ridges, and this proliferation of ridge will be from the posterior side of the infundibulum and from the right ventricular wall. This is the ventricular septum. So from the right side of ventricular septum, it will be proliferated and it will pass till the right atrioventricular orifice. So it is going till the right atrioventricular orifice. And this beautiful segment is one of the important ridges, supraventricular crest. Now here the supraventricular crest is also a ridge which will separate inflowing segment from outflowing segment. Outflowing is infundibulum, or it is called conus arteriosus or pulmonary trunk. So it will separate the inflowing from outflowing, that is supraventricular crest. Now always remember the supraventricular crest is located in the dorsal wall of the pulmonary orifice or infundibulum or outflowing tract. So therefore this is supraventricular crest. It is in the form of a ridge. Now bridges. What are bridges? So here, if you can see, bridges are, they connect the ventricular walls, but in the middle they are elevated. See here, they are elevated in the middle. Where I am showing you with the forceps, they are elevated in the middle. So therefore this ridge over here, this is one of the biggest. Bridge, not ridge, bridge. So this bridge will be known as septomarginal trabeculae, or it is called moderator band. Now the septomarginal trabeculae will always contain here the right branch of the bundle of His, or it is called AV bundle. So right branch of the AV bundle is contained in septomarginal trabecula, or it is called the moderator band. Why it is called moderator band? Because this ridge will prevent the over distension, over bulging of the right ventricle when it is filled with blood. Location. Now this ridge is located in the ventral wall of the ventricular septum. That means it will be located in the ventral wall of the infundibulum. So the infundibulum in the ventral wall will contain, this will be the septomarginal trabecula, and in the dorsal wall, the infundibulum will contain supraventricular crest. This is the difference. Supraventricular crest is an example of ridge, and septomarginal trabecula or moderator band is an example of bridge. It will contain the right branch of bundle of His. And this will connect the ventral wall of infundibulum from the right side of ventricular septum till anterior papillary muscle. The section is passing through anterior papillary muscle. See here, this thickened portion is anterior papillary muscle. And I will come to that anterior papillary muscle later on. So here we finish what? We finish the bridges. Ridges, bridges, we have finished. Now we come to the papillary muscles. Now, papillary muscles, there are two papillary muscles in the right ventricle. Now, if you concentrate here, see this thick portion, as I told you, our section is passing through anterior papillary muscle. So this thick section is anterior papillary muscle. If you close it, see here, if I close like this, that means our anterior papillary muscle, the section is passing through this thick anterior papillary muscle. And on the other side, this is the anterior papillary muscle, this part, where septomarginal trabecula is ending. Note it very clearly. See here. So therefore, on this side, this is the anterior papillary muscle. Now, on the anterior papillary muscle location will be on the sternocostal surface, as this is the sternocostal surface, and second will be, if you are able to see, this will be the, just a minute, this will be the posterior papillary muscle. So therefore, the posterior papillary muscle will be located in the inferior wall, which I am holding with the forceps. This posterior papillary muscle will be located in the inferior wall of the right ventricle. From the apical portions of anterior and posterior papillary muscle, there will be the chordae tendineae. And remember, from the anterior papillary muscle, the chordae tendineae which are arising from the anterior papillary muscle, they will pass to the anterior cusp and septal cusp, rather anterior and posterior cusp of tricuspid valve. From the posterior papillary muscle, the chordae tendineae will pass to the posterior cusp and septal cusp. And if at all there are septal cusp present, if at all there is septal chordae tendineae, then it will be connecting a very small, rarely present septal papillary muscle sometimes, which will connect to the septal cusp and anterior cusp. So basically there are two papillary muscles, anterior papillary muscle here and the posterior papillary muscle. What will these papillary muscles and chordae tendineae do? Both of them, papillary muscles and chordae tendineae, will approximate the cusp of the right atrioventricular valve. So it will approximate the closure of the tricuspid valve. When? During ventricular systole. Here we finish the trabeculae carneae. So here we finish the inflowing tract. Now the outflowing tract. If you see the outflowing tract beautifully here, which we have opened it, it is called infundibulum or it is called conus arteriosus. Always remember, the inflowing tract and the outflowing will have an obtuse angle. This is the obtuse angle for the blood flow. Because the outflowing tract of the right ventricle is located anterior, upwards, and to the left of the inflowing tract. Please note down. The outflowing tract of the right ventricle will be located anterior, upwards, and to the left of the inflowing tract of the right ventricle. So here we have this pulmonary orifice where we have this semilunar cusp. We know that the pulmonary valve has 3 semilunar cusps. And these 3 semilunar cusps, 1, 2, 3. When we close down, it will always have 2 anterior, our section is passing through anterior, 1 and 2 anterior and 1 posterior semilunar cusp. These semilunar cusp, each of them will have central nodule, and on periphery there will be luneal. If you are able to see this, see how you should be able to see this central nodule and peripheral, both the sides luneal, each semilunar cusp. And as I told you, there are 3 semilunar cusps, 2 anterior, 1 posterior in pulmonary orifice. Now, above each semilunar cusp here, if you are able to see, there is a dilated segment. See here inside where I'm putting the forceps. Above each semilunar cusp, here also, above each semilunar cusp, there is a dilated segment. This is called pulmonary sinus. It will help in filling up of the blood during diastole. Now, these three semilunar cusp, when they are closed during the diastole, they will assume triradiate line. But when they are open, when will they open up? During ventricular systole, when blood will gush through. At that time, they will assume triangular outline. So therefore, this is about the infundibulum or pulmonary orifice, or it is known as the conus arteriosus.